have the tools within you. May these conversations inspire you to use them. Empowerment is a word that brings liberty, and leadership is always about empowering others. And in today's edition of Conversations, a program which comes your way under the Zidarire Foundation, we want to dwell on the topic, empowered to empower. And of course, I have great women from Malawi who are great leaders and have been empowering others over the years. And we just want to hear their stories and of course, how they have managed to do that. Please stay with us. My name is Angel Chima, welcoming you here at the Woodlands in Inongwe. Yes, there is a great conversation ahead of us on empowerment. Please don't move an inch. And of course, like I said, I'm honored to have great women from our land. And I'm greatly honored in our program to have Mama C.T. Gadzamira, who is the former official hostess of Malawi for close to 4 decades until 1994. My other guest is Dr. Phoya, who is a public health nurse midwife and Fulbright scholar with a doctoral degree in health policy and planning, research and a clinical role in maternal and infant health obtained at the Catholic University of America, Washington, D.C. in 1993.
First stages of my life, where I realize now that I have been empowered and I've also empowered others, is when I was working in the state residences, where we had a lot of staff. Most of them didn't go very far with their education at that time in the 60s. The highest we could find is Form 2. And for the men, maybe Form 4. But they didn't pass high enough to go for further education. And most of their wives were illiterate. So that's where I was forced to come in. By just looking at them, interacting with them, I could see every day a woman coming complaining, my husband beats me. Oh, there's no food at the house. Oh, there's a neighbor who is quarreling with us. So my initial thought was, let me go to the Catholic sisters. So there was a Sister Josephine and Sister Teresa at the convent in Blantyre. So I told them what I really wanted to ask them to help me. No problem, Ma'am. We'll send 3 sisters on such and such a date to State House. So they came and they started with just talking to the women. You know how softly the Catholic nuns speak. And the women at first were not so attentive because they didn't see the reason why they should be lectured on looking after their families. So the sisters did that for 5 days and then they went away. So what I did was to take over and teach them about home management, you know, cleanliness in the home, cleanliness for the children. What kind of environment do we have? What people are we mixing with? So it was quite a good thing. After 3 months, we could see that the women have gone a little further. So I was quite conversant with crocheting and embroidery. So we formed classes for these ladies. We didn't say she went to school, she didn't go to school. We just said, you are all one. Come, let's start doing something. So we started with sewing, crocheting, embroidery not, but crocheting and knitting, sewing. So I remember the first stages. You'll be sitting with a lady here, one of the women. Say, just hold 2 needles. Let's start knitting. She'll look at you and then she just looks aside. Say, dear child, quite a few of them. Simuta, why? I still. But after 2, 3 times, then they'll come and start we were calling a ring pattern in crocheting. Then I brought in the sisters again, and they are very good at embroidery. So we put the ladies with her, and eventually we got a Mrs. Chikwenembe, who was a social worker. She did domestic science outside the country. So she was employed as a domestic worker in embroidery and so on. So she was teaching the ladies embroidery. And in the end, they were so good that we would select one or two to go to Magomero for training, home management, home economics, and so on. When they come, they teach other women, and we ended up with 11 teachers who were teachers of teachers,
wow,
and then teachers of women. So we had to deploy 3 in State House, 3 at Sanjika, 3 here in Lilongwe, 2 in Kasungu, and 2 in Mzuzu. There were state lodges everywhere, and there were staff there. So in the end, because they were making a lot of handicrafts, and the standard was so good, we decided to open a shop in Blantyre, which was called Boutique. Boutique, not Blantyre Boutique, but just Boutique. And there they were collecting their things, sell them in the central committee. The central committee would take those things into the boutique. From whatever they were making, we would say, okay, let's enlarge this boutique. Call for hardware, call for software, then we can sell in the shop. It was so successful that the ladies, every end of the month, they would get something. Then they'll have school fees for the children. They'll have good food for the children, good clothes. They even helped the husbands with school fees. And then they started with, like touristic things, like embroidery with beads for baskets, for lichero, for sengwa. And that was like tourism for the State House women. So whenever visitors come, we would arrange a date with the city council to have a display in the hall. They had a social hall in the State House in Soka. So from there, it expanded into all the 3 regions. So this is one way I can say, in the end, though I was doing it unconsciously, and this lady is doing it unconsciously, with the present technology, we say we were empowered to empower these women, and these women also empowered their friends. So that's one thing I can say. I thank God, because teaching a woman from the village and she's in town is not as easy as teaching a town lady, but I think we managed.
Wow.
Yes.
And as women who have made an impact in society, you were empowered, and I'm sure you experienced a lot of challenges along the way as you were trying to empower others, and for you to be accepted as empowered women then, because it was very rare to have a lot of empowered women, and it was somehow a taboo for a woman to sort of stand up and speak and stand for their rights and also fight for other women. How were you able to manage during those days? Maybe I can start with you, Dr. Phoya, and then Mama can finish.
Yeah, I think those challenges are there. First of all is the gender roles that have been typified, that women are like, should do this, and men should do like this. So it's not easy for a woman to be to play the roles that have been played by men. They will think like you are a taboo or you are a stranger in the house. But how to address that is for you to accept that people may not accept you. But what you need to do is to show what do you have that you can bring to the table. Like I said, I've been sitting in policy making tables. And in my last assignment in the ministry, I was a director for the sector-wide approach, a reform process for the Ministry of Health, where we are putting money from the donors, money from government in one pot to finance the health sector plan. So basically people would say, why is a woman leading this particular department, a very critical department at that time in the health sector? But because I had the skills, all I had to do was to show what I can do. Then these stereotyped roles would fade away. But also sometimes we meet challenges from our own ranks, the women themselves. What does she want to do? What does she think that she is? So the best that on my side to do was to show them that the little that they have, they can also contribute to my own growth.
Yes.
And then also what I have would assist them to grow. So supporting each other, making sure that you don't have to overshow what you have because they don't have. So if you can build that type of relationship, that is symbiotic relationship with your peers and all that, then eventually they start to accept you. But also if you are a good role model, like I've modeled a lot of people. There are now so many nurse midwives in this Malawi that are holding PhDs because I told that you can and do not be afraid to show what you have. But definitely those challenges are there. It's a question of how do you navigate the system and make your voice heard in a way that you don't also want to overshadow the others. Because sometimes we dig our own graves by wanting to show off that, hey, I have this, what are you, something like that. It doesn't work. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Mama?
I think it's almost the same what she says. There are challenges, there are also no challenges. Well, for example, on my side, I had to deal with men as well as women. And I always said to myself, I've been lecturing at these men. There are many things which they are not doing, which they should do. What are they thinking about me? You could see they give you a cold shoulder at first. But you look at what is happening in the country, you get encouraged. If X has done this, why can't I do it? And as I was getting on in life, I could see women empowered women empowering others. I always quoted Justice Anastasia Msosa. I always quoted Vera Chirwa, for example. In the old days, she was one of the early lawyers, even before Justice Anastasia. And then we have Dr. Jean Kalilan, and quite a few others. So I would say, these have managed to do this. All right, their education is a little bit higher than me. But I, in my life, as I was working, I knew my father could not take all of us. We were 9 in the family. How could he take every child to a high school? So some of us had to follow our father, because my father, he never did standard 6. But when he went to Rhodesia, he joined night classes up to Form 2, Form 3. And at that time, as a child, he would say, so it's after I finished my high school that I said, I haven't finished education. So when I was in Zomba, I joined into a matric training to get a higher learning in matric. And then I went for biology because I was looking for medicine. But in the course of that, there were many other duties placed on me. And these duties were empowering me. And I was empowered, like doing secretariat, shorthand. I had to teach myself through correspondences. And then to do biology by correspondence and so on, I had to have someone to encourage me. So it's a life of challenges and also of successes. Holistically, you can say that, and politically. Yeah. During my time, there wasn't as much social mixture as we have today. We didn't have television at that time. It was just the radio. Radio South Africa, Radio Zambia, Radio Rhodesia, and MBC, Malawi Broadcasting Corporation. And on talking about girls, it was part of training in the midwifery. If you're a midwife, you have to learn a little bit about, child spacing and so on. And girls, in my years anyway, if you go to class and the teacher puts you next to a boy, you'd weep, crying. I don't want to sit near this one. So the teacher will say, but you are doing the same thing, all of you. And I was one of them. I never wanted to sit next to a boy. But when I reached maybe after Form 2, that's when I said, oh, this is part of life. But there was not much sexual harassment. What I know what was happening was, when you reached age 13, the parent will gradually come, oh, you're old enough, you have to get married. Or the next family comes and says, our boy wants your daughter, and so on. So we used to have very young marriages in those days. I know it still happens now, but there's a lot of lecturing, technology, new research to help with the girls, young girls and boys. Yeah. But Dr. Phoya has much more to say on this.
Yeah.
I think sexual harassment was there. What we did not have was probably where to complain to. And if you were to complain, who would listen to you? Mm-hmm. But the weapon that one had was your own integrity. And also to believe that you can rise through the ladders through your own initiative. Because the harassment in the workplace was like, and I'll give an example for sex for scores. Like if you are at the university, the professor may say, if you want a distinction, you may wish to come to dinner with me, something like that. Or in the workplace, they would say, do you want to rise quickly in your promotion, probably something like that. But your own integrity, to tell these people that hands off me, if I don't get promoted, let it be. If there's promotion for me, my destiny has already been written by the Almighty. You cannot influence it, something like that. So I think these things have been there. The question was now, how do you complain? But I'm hoping now that these days the girls are well empowered, like we're talking about here, that they can say no, because that is going to destroy their own future. Yes. And most institutions, especially where I'm privileged to sit on a number of boards, I encourage each organization to have a safeguarding policy. Something that everybody must read, that if I see 1, 2, 3 things, this is sexual harassment and I must do this. Yes.
Any concluding remarks before we wind up the program? Maybe for those that are watching regarding issues of empowerment. I'll start with you, Dr.
Yeah, probably my closing comment would be charity begins at home. So like I said, we should try to create an environment where we are empowering each other. Even the male child requires to be empowered. The girl child needs to be empowered. So as parents, let's do everything that we can do for our children. But those of us that have been privileged or blessed, let us continue to empower others, because that's the only way we can promote growth. Because it's not good that when you have the chances, because like the hand that gives is the one that receives, yeah? So when we are privileged, let us empower others by being good role models, opening doors for others, encouraging each other, so that in the long run, all of us have a good life. Yes.
Your final remarks to our viewers regarding empowerment?
It is a very important subject. Encouraging the young ones to stay focused. If you catch a good advice, good education, keep it. Don't be diverted, just stay focused and lead your life as you want it to be. And encouragement to even the chiefs in the villages. And I'm happy to say this is happening. Even the chiefs are being taught how to empower their own community and communions. And parents, then teachers themselves. And sometimes I think teachers are a bit weak on areas with the girl child. And we need to work much more on them to realize that they've got integrity to look after, integrity to think about themselves in the future. And we also have to continue empowering these children to go to the hospitals. You know, there's this anti-cancer, anti-malaria, anti-these inoculations. It's very important. So my advice is, let's advise these people we are empowering to stay focused in what they want in life. Yes, thank you.
I'm sure there's so much that you and I have learned today regarding issues of empowerment. Our topic in today's edition of Conversations was empowered to empower. And we have heard from our powerful women in the land on how they empowered themselves and how they also empowered others. And I'm sure it's everyone's responsibility to make sure that they empower themselves and also empower others. Remember, you only have today to improve your tomorrow. And it's all up to you to make that decision. And yes, it is possible. I was honored in this edition of Conversations to have two amazing women as my guests. I had Dr. Phoya, and I also had Mama C.T. Katamira. I'm sure you have learned a thing or two as much as I have. Until next time, on behalf of the Tidalire Foundation here at the Woodlands in Ilongwe, it's many thanks for being there. My name is Angel Chima. See you next time, and goodbye.
You have the tools within you. May these conversations inspire you to use them.